Okay, everyone, welcome to the Love Beacons weekly discussion. And this week it's a little bit heightened because I did read speculation in the media that there may be a snap general election in the spring, which kind of made me go, oh. So maybe that's something we can discuss. But before we get into the discussion, I would just like to do a little reading, and it is in honor of Dee Sunshine, who is or was a Love Party member. Previous to that, he was actually a real Jeremy Corbyn fan and total Labour supporter, but he defected once they appointed Keir Starmer, and because of his World Economic Forum allegiance, and he then joined the Love Party because he was very spiritual, and he just loved the fact that we called ourselves Love and that we were heart-centered. And he lived in Findhorn, and he died last Sunday, so he was one of our party. So I just wanted to read, I did some readings on Monday from this book by Dorothy McLean, who's the founder of Findhorn Eco Village, and I wanted to read a couple more because it's such a sweet little book, and they're all about love. So I'm just going to read these just as a little tribute. So she said, this is from the foreword. Love, the prime energy of the universe, is at the heart of all of these messages in the book. The apex from which peace, stillness, beauty and wonder and all else radiate. The messages in this little booklet have helped comfort, inspire and lead me home to God. I hope they'll do the same for you. Trust my love. Walk beside me all day, turning to me for the answers to all problems. Through an open heart, a drop of my love can fall on a parched heart. Let me guide your heart and fill it with joy and peace. Trust love. Love is within. Love is within all creatures, and all are within it. You simply cannot escape it. Escape is a strange word to use, for actually what you want is love, not the extreme pressure of escaping. Know that love is always here, and we will eventually know that we are one instead of being divided. Love dissolves barriers. When anything or person grates on you, you are seeing faults, are incomplete and in lack. With others you may see faults, but still like them. You are not perfect, nor are others. But with love, little habits and mannerisms do not annoy. Turn your consciousness to love's divine essence, which breaks all barriers. Yeah, so I just thought I'd read a few bits from that. So anyway, that's yeah, so I'm actually going up there. I'm making a little pilgrimage up on Sunday to his funeral. So we're setting off super early, so that should be quite sweet. And of course, Findhorn Eco Community, I mean, it was one of the pioneers of the whole community movement back in 1962. And they literally just rocked up there in caravans and established this whole place and grew vegetables in the sand. And so it was one of those kind of inspirational places where people from all over the world did make a pilgrimage to Findhorn, and then created eco communities all over the world. So it's really, I went there once before with Dee, actually, when I first went to Scotland to meet him. So it's a very fascinating place. I don't know if anyone's been there, but yeah, so anyway, it will be inspiring as well to go back, obviously having acquired Crestbrook Dale. And this was the other really interesting thing, just to finish, and then we'll open to you, Julie and Lynn. The interesting thing about Las Vegas, just having been there, is the prices of land. And we're talking about literally bare desert with nothing, not even anything growing on it, not even a cactus, you know. Literally bare desert land. There was a 7.5 acre plot, literally just nothing on it, for $12.5 million. And it just occurred to me how the false matrix has completely inverted everything. Because we have Natural England, and we know from UK Column that the planning authorities in Natural England work as a pincer movement, and they're trying to grab land. Everyone's trying to grab land at the moment. And Natural England are trying to make us believe that Cressbrookdale is pretty worthless, and that I think they've offered us like 280 grand for 53 acres. And we're talking about verdant land with thousands of trees, a natural spring. It's we own all the mineral rights. I mean, literally, it's a massive limestone resource. Not that we would dream of quarrying it as such, but isn't it interesting how the inversion of the false matrix, which makes us believe it's like Emperor's New Clothes. Oh, look at this lovely piece of desert. Oh yes, $12.5 million. Oh, look at this incredible dale. Oh no, that's not worth anything. It's just completely inverted. And I did post a message this morning about how I personally am so convinced that it's time to restore, or to bring in, I should say, not even restore, or it actually probably is restore, a matriarchy, a matriarchal system where it's like mums looking after everyone, making sure everyone's well fed, everyone's safe, cozy and warm, everyone gets looked after, everyone's healthy, and that like no one fights, like stop fighting, and I just really feel that strongly. It's time for, I won't even say women, I would say it's time for mothers to take control of this situation on this planet, and led by Mother Nature. I feel that very strongly. So that's my little opening. Over to you two. How have you been?
Yes, good, thank you. Yeah, it's I agree with you completely. I mean, a mother energy, whether, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be women. It mostly is, because you can't, it's always going to be women that go, hang on a minute, this is absolutely rubbish for the kids. We need to do things differently. Whereas the men will tend to be happy, going off and getting some sort of glory or lots of money or something. And it's going to be the women that draw it in and go, hang on a minute, this far and no further, that our kids are now, suffering, get it sorted. And that's sort of, I suppose, how matriarchies always work, isn't it? It's always going to be the women going, not with my kids, or we need this, we want an improvement for my kids. And that tends to be a big driver for mothers, which is why it tends to work, tends to be effective, and why I think it's been so important to get rid of the system of that. From the point of view of the cabal, it's been very important to get rid of the mothering role for exactly that reason, because of how powerful it is as a driver. So yeah, get the kids in school, take them away from the mothers, get them, make women not really women, and
well, selling this idea of being a career woman, I really fell for that in the 70s and 80s. Like, it was, being a mum was just it wasn't a career. It was just like a pathetic thing. And I realized that was just part of the program.
I totally fell for it until I had kids, right until I had a child that I couldn't then. I just thought, I can't put them in care, not at this age. This is, it's just not right. But right up until that point, I was completely brought into the, career thing. Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? But yeah, definitely land is up for grabs at the moment. Everyone's trying to get a little bit, and I don't blame them. But it's also being, I think we've got to just not one eye on what's going on. I think there's a lot of trying to get people corralled into the centres, urban centres, and I think the logical, you see John Kerry this week trying to get rid of farming. It's because it's causing climate change, and what a blooming idiot. Anyway, so there's that attack on farming and on rural, and then there's I've seen it looks like some sort of creep of designating places, areas of biodiversity and other rubbish stuff like that, to get people out of those areas, take out the roads, that sort of,
take
out the farms, take out the roads. And yeah, it's all going to be done in the name. It's all being done in the name of the environment and biodiversity, because we're not biodiversity, are we? We're not a species that contribute to that. But yes, humans apparently don't count. So that's one eye on the problem, and obviously the solution is get back on the land, get back there, and so what if they take the roads up? So what if we can't get away from our village, be so independent it doesn't matter, have it be, get the villagers and little settlements energy independent and food self-sufficient, confident enough to teach and heal themselves. We don't need, so we don't need these organizations that are determined to drive us all into a few centers. So yeah.
Julie, do you want to add anything, and we'll keep coming round?
Well, yeah, because to me, we don't need that stereotype. Everybody is yang and yin, and we have those male and female aspects, if we call them male and female, in everything we do. Sometimes I'm more yang, sometimes I'm more yin. We don't need the stereotypical roles of man and woman. What we do need to do is completely change the education system so that we've got education in the local communities as the main focus, and not as slave labour, but learning to go out to work in work environments and put practical applications to anything that they're learning about. So when they're learning to read, when they're learning to do maths, if they can actually apply what they're learning without having to do it in age restricted classrooms, that will be loads better. And we could be teaching them basic first aid from being nursery age, and mixed ages. Everybody learns at different speeds and different ways. And actually, I've been this morning to one of my local communities, and because I've missed 2 weeks, first week I've got cold symptoms, and I thought they won't want to be in a separate room with me because it was significantly coldy. Last week I was teaching, but they really missed me, and I was amazed how they were sort of and chatted to me about how much they'd missed me, and certain people had arrived just to see me, not knowing I wouldn't be there and things like that. But when I listened to them and how they're supporting each other in their local communities, and sometimes, the mention of the mayor and the local politician and how unsupportive they've been. So we just need to bring that whole system down, get them out of these prison-like schools. They do not need to be doing standardized testing like they are doing. Yes, they'll do occasional assessments, but only for what they're doing and working flexibly. So if it were to snow today, we'd go out and explore the snow, so they'd get more understanding of what snow is. And we could be doing this in everyday life. And we don't need these sort of term times. We need it every day of the year within supportive communities, and stop having the males and females in slave labour. So I was a stay-at-home mum, and I was severely criticised for doing that from my son being born. I did start an open university degree when my daughter was 3 months old, son was 2.5. But still, I was severely criticised. Nobody thought I was doing the right thing. And I was also lead of the parent group at their first school governor at both of the follow-on schools. So I've always been a proactive person. And this is what we need to have. But also accept some people are proactive, whereas others just need to be looking to people that they respect to be led. And I love the way that this local group are supporting each other. And I was talking to one of the sort of more official people about antisocial behaviour, and giving him some insights into actually the way we're supposedly supporting these kids isn't actually what they need, and that's why they carry on the antisocial behaviour. I've worked with behaviour unit children before, teenagers, young adults. I've worked with private tutoring, and I know I had one session with someone, and when I was chatting to him, it was come to me for maths, but I got chatting to him about how he was at school, and I said, well, how do you think the teacher feels when you're being like that? From that moment on, I got feedback from someone that didn't even know he'd been to me, that he'd started putting his hand up in class and he was interacting in class a lot better. But he'd never had anyone to have that discussion with him. And this is the sort of stuff we need, and everybody needs something different. And as you know, I'm really into the complementary therapies, and they are so receptive and so wanting me to go there and help them to understand their own bodies, which they do to some extent, but then they don't do anything about it because they're so busy in their lives. And this is what we need to stop. We've got technology that could be doing a lot, and we don't need people to be in the jobs working 5 days a week or and the ridiculous shifts that they're doing. All that is to keep the system going, and that's what we need to change. Now, I don't know if you know, but apparently Dubai, which is becoming the new Switzerland, I've heard, they're starting to create it so it's not as deserty. And so, you know, they're using the bioengineering stuff. So the place that Rachel was talking about at Vegas that they're trying to sell off, they'll be starting to do that sort of stuff there. So yes, it might seem like a desert now, but they don't realise what they're doing to the rest of the world by changing the weather and helping those places to not be a desert. So it's just incredible, isn't it? But we need to just keep staying in there. Yeah.
Are you saying Dubai is being weather engineered, or that they're, because they don't need to change the weather to get an ecosystem going? If they get, you know, a few plants will increase the moisture, and you know, the more plants that they actually put in, the more they will generate their own ecosystem with clouds and everything else. They don't actually need to change the weather to do that. Are they?
No, but I'll be amazed if they're not doing. Yeah. Well, they've been doing weather changing since.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I agree that they're doing it, definitely doing it here, and it's.
Well, they've been doing it since the 60s, 70s throughout the world. So, and they do other vibrations sending out to control people. And so the more we know about that, I would be amazed if they weren't trying to do some there, as well as hopefully planting some plants as well. But they'll be trying to speed it up and everything, won't they? Especially because they want the powers that be to be buying places there. And So
what I heard they were doing Dubai, because it's next to the sea, is that they are building like canals, and they're building glass houses over the canals, and the heat is evaporating the seawater, and it's creating moisture condensation within glass houses, which is being then feeding plants. And so that's how they're creating a sort of under glass, like greenhouse type effect. That was one of the things that I knew that they were doing in Dubai. But the thing about Dubai was, like, it was the capital, wasn't it? And then suddenly crashed. It crashed, didn't it? Everyone left Dubai, didn't they? So that, I guess they're having to
but they'll deliberately get people to leave it when they want to do something else with it in the future. And even canals are man-made, aren't they? Rivers, canals are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's all engineering.
Yes, why go to, it just makes no sense, does it, to go to all this effort to build canals and glass houses, and when there are plenty of places in the world that are agriculture fit already. You know, why do we have to?
Well, I guess this is the
go
point,
down this artificial route.
It's about land ownership, isn't it? So this is the point about. I mean, this was really brought it home to with Las Vegas. Obviously, it was all Native American Indian that was just completely stolen. And so this land grab that's happening, it's just happening before our eyes, isn't it? With Maui and Acapulco and you know, all of these places.
But at the same time, they're decimating our own towns. I mean, Mansfield Town Centre's got so many empty properties, which we've never had before. It used to be a thriving town. And I know it's not just in Mansfield, but they're deliberately debilitating our towns and green spaces and all that sort of stuff. And then no doubt they'll step up doing it just before we get the election coming next spring or whenever. And aren't we doing well here? And
I did want to say one thing about affordable housing, because I was listening on. I don't often listen to Radio 4, but I happened to be listening to it, and the mayor of Manchester, he was talking about affordable housing and how important it's to get affordable housing, and that the budget needed to have this in, etc. Blah blah blah. And I was just listening to it, kind of scratching my head and just thinking, it would be so simple to completely transform housing, which is one of the biggest issues. Like, to create affordable housing, you just lift all these nonsense planning restrictions, and you just allow people on land to create semi-permanent structures, exactly as many communities are wanting to do. If you have some land or some woodland, that you create semi-permanent structures, like a little eco-village, like they've done at Findhorn, which was just sand dunes. I mean, literally, there's probably, there must be several hundred people living on those sand dunes now. It's beautifully done. It's a real community. They've got facilities that everyone shares, as well as having individual spaces. And it seems to me the absolute logical, perfect solution, because there's so many groups of people now wanting to pool resources, buy some land. A lot of people with building skills. You can use natural materials. I mean, that guy, someone posted the video of that guy in, I think it was in Hertfordshire, who'd created his own house on the land, and they put him in prison for it. I mean, it's just insane, because under our common law rights, if you have land, you have the right to do what you want with it, in truth. So all of this layers of authority that have been layered in, I mean, planning only came in the 1930s. And I was interested, actually, just to go slightly off piste, and I was in my mind wanting to do a little Photoshop of your face, Lynn, onto his head. But the guy who's just been voted in Brazil, who is the libertarian guy who just wants to destroy the whole system.
Yes. Is that Argentina? Is that the one?
Oh, is it Argentina or is it Brazil? Oh, Argentina, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Brazil?
I sort of, a lot of what he says I resonate with, but then he wants to dollarize the economy.
Well, I think it's because inflation is like 120%.
Yeah. But I mean, the dollar. You're just looking at him
Well,
going, the dollar.
the thing is, in South
that's your
America,
solution?
to give him his due, in South America, and I know this from going to Peru a lot, the dollar is the secondary currency, and a lot of people will only accept money in dollars. So it is a natural choice to go for the dollar, because it's already widely in use, and everyone.
But Brazil is part of the new BRICS currency. You'd think that they'd go in with that, but I suppose there is a bit of an edge with Brazil and Argentina, isn't there? They're not.
I don't know, but I just know that South America dollars is the second currency, and it's already widely used. So it's a logical choice. You can understand why they would choose that to stabilize, because that's the thing. I mean, you need, in a situation like that, I guess your first thing is to stabilize a country.
And then hopefully once he's in, he'll get something set up for their own monetary system or whatever. But there's not only the American dollar, there are other dollars, aren't there? So is he after the American dollar, or is he just...
It is the US dollar that they would use.
But as I say, that is the secondary currency in most South American countries when you go. So it's a logical thing, because everyone's already set up, everyone's already using it. So why not?
They've got to start somewhere, haven't they? As things evolve, hopefully it'll change.
I'm looking at it going, but the dollar's on its way down. So it's going to
but even that's all man contrived.
Oh yeah, totally. It's completely.
It's like when they want to cause a war, they can just print money, and yet they've got people that they're now changing the different benefit systems just to make things more complicated, and they're trying to do it in ways that look as though they're doing a nice thing, but actually it just causes more stress. And why do you have to put people through that? They could have the basics for life for free, actually, if we allow that to happen, instead of all these people taking off loads of money.
Yeah. But I did like his libertarian approach, which was basically to dramatically reduce the government infrastructure. Oh, I think it's 1:30. Does Lynn need to go? I quite like that, from what I understood, that he wants to completely take a bit of a wrecking ball to the system, and to dramatically simplify it, which is kind of aligned to what we've been saying.
Yeah,
So
it was certainly mentioning the healthcare system, the education system, and all that sort of stuff, wasn't
yeah.
it?
So the
Yeah.
fact that someone, I mean, I know it's very different in Argentina because they were in, like, I think if a country is kind of disintegrating and the people are rising up, you've got more chance of being voted in
Yes.
if you're a bit of a left field, oddball, freak candidate, because that's what we really are. We're kind of a bit of a freak show compared to the mainstream. But who knows, like, that what magic could happen in the dragon years, I keep saying, that some in so many countries left field parties are coming in, like in Netherlands, I think is another example recently, isn't it? They've had a shock election.
I think they're calling them far right extremists getting in all over Europe.
Well, I guess they would call them that, wouldn't they? But what really, actually, anyone who, well, I don't know. I guess anyone who wants to protect their boundaries and not have immigration could be described as far right, couldn't they?
That's what, yeah, pretty much what they're doing, you know. But yeah, anyway, basically, if you value freedom for some reason at the moment, you're called far right. So, you know, if you want to just do your own thing and look after yourself, that's far right and extremist. It's like
Yeah, but also we don't even need to use that terminology because that's just their sort of way of.
oh no, it's complete brainwashing thing, isn't it? It's just
Yeah, they have to attach labels.
a trigger word, just a trigger word to attach to us, to people who want to do their own thing and be left alone. Oh, you're a right-wing extremist.
This actually, I did have noticed this increasing as the pennies really dropped with me, that this is one of the tricks of the false matrix, isn't it?
Totally.
Label stuff, whether it's like in healthcare, like, oh, you've got ADHD, oh, that means I can prescribe this drug, and in like media, oh, you're a anti-vaxxer, therefore you fit into this box and we can beat you with this stick. And so this desire to label, a bit like you said before, Julie, about archetypes. I mean, even the mother archetype, you know, or career woman archetype, it's like breaking down all of the labels so that we can just be. And because the minute you put a label, you've judged something, and then it's in a box, and then that's how they do it. So this,
totally. And it's ridiculous, you know. I mean, right from the start, we've for a long time anyway, we've now seen that it's basically they'll just throw a word at people like us, and you know, even you're a freedom lover, oh, racist, even that, you know, the leap is so ridiculous. It's oh, you're far right, therefore you're racist, therefore, you know,
I think we're more likely to be called kind of bonkers housewives, aren't we, or something.
That would be better. I would be happy with that. I would actually be fine with that. That would be I think acceptable as well. But it's definitely, you know, they basically, if you want to be independent and away from the state, you're called far right, an extremist, and then the next step is Nazi, which is not far right at all. It's very, very left, but because it's statist. But their next step is Nazi and racist, isn't it? That's so they just sort of,
or anti-Semites,
put you on that same box, you know.
Yeah, and also mainstream wise, they're getting people into being very ageist and making people think that just because they're getting older and over 40 or so that they're getting old. And I keep saying to people, I'm fitter and more flexible and healthier now at 63 than I was in my 30s. And so, you know, we don't need to do that, and we don't need to sort of say, oh, well, because of your age. So the more we can converse on things that we need rather than focusing on what they're doing, the better we can help people feel anyway. And that's where,
and that has
Biden's
a depopulation thing, doesn't it? It's you know, oh, you know, you're getting too old, you know, would you like to just go away peacefully, you know? We've seen in
Biden's
Canada
84,
how
isn't he?
euthanasia, eh?
Biden's 84, isn't he?
Okay, you're
not actually a very good role model there, isn't it? But I've also realised recently that Hitler apparently used to be quite compassionate about animals and things like that. And from what I gathered about him, I think they did an entraining thing with him to get him to behave as he did. So I don't actually, you know, like the Kennedy's murderer wasn't actually, he was entrained to do that. And Giuliano's murderer was entrained to do that. So even though we've been told and brought up with that, Hitler, when he was younger, apparently wasn't, but the entrainment has happened. And when you look at Biden and these sort of dementia type symptoms and things that he's got, that's all part of entrainment. And so that's what we are working towards changing.
Yeah, Hitler was a funny one, wasn't he? I mean, wasn't he connected to the Rothschilds as in some sort of illegitimate offspring?
Yeah, there was something
Because
like
he came
that.
into money quite. I think his mother worked for one of them, one of the Rothschilds, and returned to her village pregnant under mysterious circumstances. And then he came into a huge amount of money when he was 21 or something.
But he was caring and compassionate when he was younger, and I've only found this out
people
recently.
are, though. I think generally people are, which makes you wonder what the hell happened to you.
No, but when you look at how entrainment happens and it changes people's behaviour and the stuff that we have in our everyday lives psychologically that tries to put people against each other, we need to change all this stuff that's in our environments, in our daily lives, into the psychological positive, and get the placebos there instead of the nocebos.
Yeah, I think the reason, but Hitler was so discredited, if you like, because it seems to me he was only discredited and called far right because he just wasn't as successful in eliminating people as Stalin. You know,
no, but if you were to think of
it's a relative failure in genocidal terms.
Him being a puppet, and we know that history has been changed, and what we are told of history isn't even true. And so when you look at other people that have been murdered supposedly because they weren't being good people and they might have weapons and stuff, and then we find out, well, actually what they were thinking of doing was setting up their own currency and being away from the rest of them. So we don't need to believe any of that. I'm really glad that I've read the Brave New World and Huxley's thing, and also they even change, and you start to believe what you're told. And I know I've always thought since being a child, so if energy only changes from one form to another, why have we got this, since we've denationalised, why have we got all these problems with how much energy costs? And we know that we could have free energy, but they're still not wanting to do that. And they still have been killing people that have tried to allow that and enable that to happen.
On a positive note, Tesla's patents are now out there. They've been closely guarded by the US for a long time, but this, which sort of makes me think somebody at the top might like us, you know, so somebody's letting stuff out that wasn't out before. So we have got a bit more access, and quantum healing methods seem to be coming on as well. The Rife frequencies, and that's all being allowed. It's actually happening again, which is amazing, because that the fact that they're not being taken out and.
But that's what we need to keep that focus on, and really imagine.
Really try and get. I'm going to go to London and see one of those machines and see.
But really get that storyboard in our everyday life of seeing us with these small communities from the roots up, and really connecting with people as to how they need support and how we can support them. And that's where I'm so glad that I'm doing what I'm doing in the different groups I'm volunteering in. And I know I'm making a positive difference, and I know it's rippling through, and we all need to keep doing this.
I just, you know, and keep telling that story, keep telling the story that yes, it's, you know, these things are now available. Free energy is becoming available. It's all there. It's all doable. And because when people start to believe it, they start to look for ways to do it. And I think it is, you know, there have been some massive changes. I don't know whether you noticed recently, but I haven't been watching the news as such, but you know, you get snippets, and it's clear that the Daily Fail and the, you know, Brainwashing Corporation, they're all wanting you to believe that Israel is poor, you know, poor Israel being attacked, and obviously you're supposed to be on Israel's side from their narrative. And so my daughter, she said to me, I'm feeling a bit strange because people are actually saying, well, maybe the Palestinians have a point, and they're actually questioning it. And some of them are talking about Palestinian history, and that saying that Israel is not possibly a very nice country. and she said, I'm feeling a bit strange because they're sort of saying what I'm thinking. I'm not used to it. And I was like, I know exactly what you mean. We've been the pariah for so long that when you're not, you worry that you've got the wrong end of the stick somehow.
Well, I'm glad I've been able to hear some really positive stuff about different people in different parts of the world and uniting people from
Yeah.
Israel.
Just saying, for
Palestine,
God's sake,
wherever.
get peace and stop being,
No,
stop
but it
being a
is
nasty big
happening.
bully. Yeah.
It is happening, but mainstream wise, perhaps they're not focusing on that. And thank goodness I don't hear that, because
But they've tried so hard to get people to sort of condemn Palestine, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's evil prats there as well. I'm sure it's not just
there will be everywhere.
Yeah.
In every community,
So-
there will be some people that are adverse, and we
Yeah.
just need to get the
But people
communities
acknowledging-
too.
yeah, but people actually acknowledging that, totally born out of genocide and racism. It's that's how it was born. It was literally brought about by that. It's inherently a racist and
Well, it's a bigger agenda.
ethnically
isn't it?
cleansed state,
Well, it's the bigger agenda. It's the land grab again, isn't it? To build the
Mm.
Ben Gurion Canal and to get the gas fields or whatever. So it all comes down to money and power and control. Ultimately,
Yeah.
it's all engineered.
I thought it was Hamas being supported by Iran was going to be the main driver for this. I thought that the US was then going to use that as an excuse to attack Iran, which has launched its gold-based currency in direct competition with the oil dollar. I got an interview. Oh, wow, brilliant!
That's where, when we think of the normal people, and
Oh, you clever
normal
girl.
people, yeah.
Oh.
What's she got an interview for?
A university.
Oh,
She's going into the belly of the beast if she can.
oh wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant news.
I haven't got my glasses, Matty, but I'm really pleased that it's there. Oh, it's amazing. You have no idea
at Pembroke College.
the process that she had to get, because with us being home ed,
I do have some
process
idea,
had
even
to go through to get. I mean, honestly, the paperwork, the different
Wow.
things to jump through, and we were just like, we don't. And I went round and round. I had to go through exam boards. I had to go through another exam center. I tried all sorts. I had to go, and they were like, you need this to do this, and I was like, but you can't have this until you've got that, and it was just like.
and it's bad enough even if you were in the mainstream education system, because I've been hearing about some.
Well, actually, they have. Yeah, I've been hearing too that a lot of schools are just not bothering with the application process because it's just so, for Oxford and Cambridge, because of how convoluted and unfriendly it is. So
It's all right. Soon we won't even need those universities, will we? So hello, Roger.
No, but I do.
Hello.
I am quite interested to get her to show me around things like the Bodley, and I think there might be a wealth of information hidden away in there if I can just go and have a bit of a sneaky look around. Go in the belly of the beast and find out what's going on.
So Roger, you're a bit late to the party, and I know that Lynn and
I'm literally
Julia
gonna
got
have to go. Yeah.
But we'll stay on for a bit and have a chat if you like.
Thank you for having me. Thank you nice to see you again, Rachel. Nice to see you.
Oh, by the way, before you go, are you happy for this recording to go out?
Totally, yeah, always.
Yeah, even though we're going to be labelled as Hitler-loving anti-Semites after this discussion. Hope you realise that.
Yes, the bonkers housewives Hitler fandom, whatever. Yeah, we're not really, Roger. We're just having a bit of a joke.
I'm trying to get you back to the main screen. I don't know how to do that now.
Oh.
Okay, bye.
Okay, see you, Lynn. Bye, Julie. And hey,
Actually,
Roger,
I really wanted to tell you something before you go.
Yeah, I'll stay on just briefly.
Yeah, briefly. I've heard that many councils are going bankrupt, in which case they're probably insolvent. People do not have to pay, or they shouldn't pay, any money, council tax or anything else, to a company which is insolvent. That's all I wanted to tell you.
All right, lovely.
that's
Thank
interesting.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been researching that. That's why I'm late.
Oh, interesting, Roger. We'll stay on and we'll have a chat about that if Julie needs to go, and we'll
Yes, I'll disappear off now. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Roger, so that's a very interesting point actually, because it applies here in Derbyshire Dales, because here they're 120 million in the red, apparently. And so that's very interesting, because it is true in the corporate world. If you wouldn't dream of paying money to, like, in advance for services in advance, it's different if you're paying for services already provided. But if you're paying money to a company for something in the future and they are insolvent, I think that is illegally trading, isn't it?
Well, it's called, in fact, I actually got sent to prison for doing that.
Really?
And it was, yes, it's called fraudulent trading, or at best it can be something like irresponsible trading. Either way, it's unlawful and it's illegal under the Companies Act.
Wow. Wow. That's a very good point. Thank you for raising that. Yeah, that is a massive kind of loophole, actually. Because I know, like, my council tax, when they issue the bill, and I do pay council tax, it's part of my lease here. They issue it in advance, don't they? They issue it like a year in advance, and then you pay in
Absolutely,
installments
yes.
in advance for each month.
Yeah. Of course, in addition, they're not even spending the money on what you're giving them the money for.
Yeah, well,
This
yeah. We did have that
Well-
conversation last time, because I did actually try to stop paying my council tax on the basis that my bins weren't being collected. And I knew from the council budgets that allegedly something like 40% of the council tax money goes on refuse collection. So I said, well, I'm not going to pay that 40%. And she said, no, the money is not for a service. It's not for services. So that's another good point. I mean, it is a real labyrinth when you start scratching the surface of this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's fraud all the way. Fraud.
Yeah. So how are you anyway, Roger? Are you prepared to stand if there's a snap general election in March or in spring?
Yeah, well, of course I am. But I mean, there are things I need to know. And I mean, I don't actually know how to get crowdfunding.
Well, crowdfunding is basically just asking people to send you money, really, in truth. A bit like you ask people to send you money for Yogi's leaflets. That's all that crowdfunding is. Now, there are certain platforms. I don't know if there's any political platforms, but I certainly would just be saying to, from my point of view, I'm thinking through how I would do it. Is basically just say, could you send me donations, towards my campaign costs? And I think even under Electoral Commission rules, if you only have to disclose if it's more than £500 or more. I need to double check that. But obviously it helps to keep a record of everything that you've received. That is just a case of asking people to support you. So it could be as simple as in your local pub having a jar on the bar saying or doing a whip round your local pub saying, could you give me a £5 towards standing as MP? That kind of thing.
Well, I'm very reluctant to do that in my position.
Well, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that's an example of crowdfunding. Anything where you basically are asking the crowd to support you, whether it's the Love Party members, whether it's people in your local community. From my point of view, I've obviously built a database of supporters. So that would be my natural starting point, is just say to people who follow me, if you want to support me, could you send a contribution,
Well, I'd rather do it through some kind of formal arrangement, getting people to send money to an intermediary. I don't want to accept money directly.
Yeah, so the challenge we have, Roger, because obviously the Love Party was started with the intention of becoming a registered party. And so far, we have had all of our bank accounts closed down because it's very rare to be able to get banking facilities for political parties. And this is one of the biggest issues. and it's been raised by I forget the other party. There's one of the other new parties that has had the same thing happened. They've had bank accounts closed time and time again. And so this is one of the ways in which the false matrix system, it tries to suppress political parties like us. Now, I'm sure Labour Party or Conservative Party, I'm sure they have long established bank accounts, probably with the big, big banking, and it's not a problem. But when you're a new when you're a new political party or political movement or anything connected with politics, that's one of the ways that they try to stop you, because if you can't get banking facilities, it makes it really difficult to campaign. And so it's all very well for you to say, oh, I'd like to do it through an intermediary, but who? Because that's the point. This is one of the reasons for decentralizing, because that centralized model no longer works. You can't get the Electoral Commission to approve your application. You can't get a bank to give you an account. So how do you function? This is the challenge. This is the real life challenge, So it may well come down to saying to people, could you send me some money in a brown envelope? Ultimately. I mean, I'm just like...
Yeah, I'm very reluctant to do that, Rachel.
Well, I know, but this is the point. This is what I'm saying. This is how we're caught between... This is how the system is attempting to stop small movements like ours, which have the potential to capture the imagination of the public. So how do you stop them from getting a grip? You don't give them an Electoral Commission registration. You don't give them any banking facilities. Make it as difficult as you possibly can for them to function. So these are real life challenges, that we have already faced. We've already had 2 bank accounts closed down on us.
Yeah, I know it's a problem, but we've got to overcome it. We can't submit.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I'm a bit stumped because, because this has been our problem, because we obviously started out with that centralized model, and with the objective of raising the money centrally so we could fund all of the candidates, which would be the classic way. So you create a political party, you have lots of memberships, you create a pot of money, you collect all the donations, and then you finance everyone that wants to stand as a candidate. That's kind of classically how a political party works. But as we haven't been able to implement that model, and we've been blocked at every stage of trying to implement that model, both by the system, by the Electoral Commission system, by the banking system. So it's a challenge. And you see, technically the thing is, because we're all standing as independents, and I'm not entirely sure about this. However, I think as an independent, it is down to you independently to raise the money, because if you get it from another party, then that party is like a backer for you, and then you're no longer independent. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So maybe
well, it's not easy for me to finance this. I mean,
well, I know, that's why I'm saying that you crowdfund it by all means, but so you're in between. You can't do it on your own, off your own independent bat, and there's no Love Party central funding mechanism, because we don't have the facility to do that. Literally, all of our bank accounts have been closed now. So literally, we just got a little PayPal account, which no one wants to use PayPal anyway. So in between that, what do you do? So it's a case of getting support from the local community to support your campaign. And to be quite honest, if we want to get votes if we want to get voted in and we want to get our deposit returned, then we need to do that. We need to have that support, because otherwise there's no point in standing. Like if no one supports you, even by in the local pub, for example, putting a fiver in a hat or a few quid even, then like, are they going to support you with their vote? You know, so this is, it's asking for local support, isn't it? You know, this is where the challenge comes.
Yeah, well, it's a big ask, really. You know, people don't pay money for a vote, but if they're being asked to pay a fiver, that's a different thing, you know. The opposition is certainly going to be on the spot asking questions. Oh, where's the money going? Look
No,
at
no,
him
no,
drinking
but
beer.
no, Roger, look, all of the main parties are constantly asking for donations the whole time. And, you know, so there's nothing.
Yeah, but we're not a main party. I mean, people are quite happy to give money to an established party, even though it is crooked. They're quite happy. They'll give money to a Tory party. They'll throw a tenner in the hat, or 20 or 50
Yeah,
for the Tories or the Labour, but
yeah.
not for an unknown party.
Well, that's a
No.
limiting belief that you have, is it not? Because you're not
Pardon?
you're not asking them to back an unknown party, because we're not a party. You are an independent candidate. So what I am saying is that if you have any support in your local constituency, people who support you, who know you, who love you, who like you, who support you, who agree with you in your local community, to me, those are the logical first people to say, look, I'm standing as MP. Would you help? Would you help to support me? Because I don't have the financial resources to raise the money, because it costs £500 to stand. You then have to pay for the cost of the leaflets, which go out to all constituencies, all members of the constituency. You get a free posting, but you have to finance the cost of the mailing. So we previously worked out that that's probably, depending on the size of your constituency, probably £2,000 or £3,000. So immediately you've got £3,500.
Yeah,
If you
can
want
you
to
just
fully, if you want to just complete, if you want to fully take advantage of the free mailing that you get as a candidate, now that mailing can contain whatever you like, as long as it's truthful. It can contain stuff about common law. It can contain stuff about, you know, what's unfolding, about your campaign and what you stand for. But it still does need some resources. And so it's
what do you
perfectly
know?
legitimate to ask your people in your constituency to support you.
Yeah, can I just ask this question? What do you mean by free mailing? Do you mean free post? A free
The
post?
Royal Mail, you get one free mailing through people's letterboxes to every person in the constituency. So, for example, in Derbyshire Dales, the constituency is about 60,000. So,
Right.
assuming that a mail shot, a leaflet maybe costs, I don't know, 5p. Assume that's 5p. I think that's probably £3,000 to buy 60,000.
Well, it's less than that. It's not. I mean, a leaflet. These leaflets I bought, I think they were about half a penny each.
Well, it depends what your leaflet is, and I mean, if it's small and cheap and
Well, you know what it is. I sent you some. You know the
yeah,
ones I
so
sent.
that's what I'm saying. So, for example, your little yogi leaflet, which was small and pretty cheaply printed on cheap paper, whereas the one that, for example, that I did was much heavier paper and is much larger. So it depends what you want to send out. Now, your 60,000 mailing, you could do it on a cheap as chips, you know, tuppence halfpenny thing. But what does that say about you as a candidate? You could print it on toilet paper, you know, but what does that say about you as a candidate?
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the basic question. So, what you're saying, Rachel, is that I could take my whatever 20,000. Well, it's actually about 100,000 people. Well, no, not in this constituency. Anyway, a few thousand envelopes down to the Royal Mail and say, right, I want you to distribute these, or do I have to put stamps on the envelope?
No, it's just a leaflet. So through your door, quite often once a week, you probably get loads of leaflets for, I don't know,
Yeah,
the
I do.
charity things and blind companies,
Well,
curtains.
and the local councillors, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
local councillors do. Yeah.
once a week, and it's typically on a Monday, I've noticed, the Royal Mail, probably it's their least busy day. So the Royal Mail just stuff all these leaflets through your letterbox. So that's basically a Royal Mail mailing. So your leaflet would just come through the door. And so that's what you get free, one free mailings, but you have to provide the leaflet. So then it's a question of what do you put on your leaflet, and how big is your leaflet? I mean, some of the local council election ones for the Conservatives were actually A3 folded down to A5. So you folded them out. So they were quite a big poster, and they were full colour, all singing, all dancing. And they were like a template, because the one I got here was very similar to the one that Lynn got for her local person. So obviously the head office of the Conservative Party create a template and do this en masse for their candidates, but we don't have that facility. We've got some various templates, but each person is kind of creating, as I understand it, our plan. Each person is creating something specific for themselves, for their campaign, for their local area. Because we're not a party, we're a movement of independence. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah.
So it's worth giving some thought to, but I would all of these limiting beliefs, like I can't, or I won't, or no one will do this, or no one's going to back me, or people are going to think this, or people are going to think that. I would suggest that you remove those programs of limiting beliefs from your mind, unplug them, unplug, and put in some more positive affirmations like, I am supported, the universe is supporting me, funds are going to flow to me magically, people are going to help me, all help and support I need will magically manifest for me when I ask for it. Those are kind of positive affirmations that and it could be that there's a friendly local printer who will do them, who supports there may be someone in the freedom movement who is a printer who would be happy to sponsor you and your leaflets, Roger. I don't know, we could put out that call, couldn't we, as part of the love movement to the freedom movement, and say, are there any friendly printers out there who could do us a really good deal to support our candidates, to people in the love movement, to support us to do campaigns.
Yeah. Do you know what the procedure is to get these delivered by Royal Mail?
Yeah,
How
so
do you go
I
about
would
it?
imagine, not that I've done it before, but I know this is what will happen with Julie, that when she paid her 500 quid to become a candidate, she then got all the information on everything like that. So in her case, because it was a local mayor thing, they actually did a little group booklet and she had to put a contribution she had a half a page. They did a whole booklet on all of the mayor candidates, and she had a half page or a page in that, and she made a contribution to the collective printing of that, and I think it was £750. So they did it quite inexpensively because they all grouped together and they did a joint mayor candidate booklet, and they drew lots as to what order they would appear in the book. Yeah.
And so where do I go to effectuate all this?
So to sign up as a candidate, once the general election is announced, would be the Electoral Commission, like we did with the local council. You go online and you download the form, which was in the local council election case, it was an 18-page form, but there were only like 4 or 5 pages to fill in. The rest of it was notes. And so it's a form that you download, you fill it all in, and you send it in with your money, your fee, which is £500. For local council elections, you didn't have to pay. But I know for the mayor election and for MPs, you have to pay £500. At least it always has been in the past. So you send in your form. You have to get supporters to second your nomination. I think Julie had to get 10 signatures to support hers as mayor, but I don't know how many it is for an MP. And then you basically send it in, or you take it in to your local, to wherever or I don't know, wherever, whatever the address is on the form. It will be on the form. And Bob's your uncle.
So what do I kind of enter into the Google search engine? What would I enter in?
Well, you would go to the Electoral Commission website and to stand as a candidate, and
Okay.
that's where you get the forms for standing.
Okay, Electoral Commission, yeah. Okay.
The Electoral Commission. That's where all the local council ones were. That's where the MP ones are. That's where the mayor ones will be. And yeah, you download the form, and most of it is notes explaining. So it is actually quite well explained in the notes, because the form itself is only, I think from memory, it was only like four or 5 pages to fill in. And then once you've you're accepted as a candidate, then they will give you a whole information pack about all of the stuff like the royal mailings and the deadlines and whatever else.
Okay.
So it's worth it. I mean, spring is not far off, so it's worth really just considering these things. But I feel that the best thing that we can all do is to strengthen our tribe of followers so that we can call on support. And and I'm sure, Roger, that we will, when the time comes, as a movement, we will find a way to resource anyone that needs it. I mean, I know Lynn would probably, I know Lynn helped Julie with some of her expenses. We'll find a way to support everyone who wants to stand. We'll just have to get resourceful,
Has Lynn got a money tree?
Well, I think that I think that she is in a flow, shall we put it like that? And I know that she has helped, with various expenses. So, it is about, like, for people who have got resources, helping those who have less resources, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, well, that concludes that part of what I'm thinking about.
Anything else you want to discuss? Because it is 7 minutes past 2, and I do need to get some books out today.
No, that's all I'm wanting to talk about. I've said everything I need to do, but
I don't seem to have got a book order from you, Roger. I was looking vainly to see if you'd ordered one of my books. Are they too expensive?
Well, I've got other things to buy at the moment.
Oh, well.
But it's not just that. I don't have time to read books.
Oh, don't you? Well, I'm happy to send you a complimentary copy if you would like.
Well, of course, I'm not going to refuse that. Of course, I'd like that. I can, I can read it over the next year in bits, can't I?
So, I'll have to look up your address again. I think you have sent it to me. I think it's on the computer, isn't it? Somewhere.
I don't know, but I can put it in the chat now.
Well, if you just send it to me on Telegram, that would be better.
All right, okay, I'll do that.
Easier. So anyway, good to see you, Roger. And are you happy for this recording to go out publicly?
Yeah, of course. No problems at all.
Okay. All right. Well, good to see you. Good to be back, and lots of love.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you're glad to be back from Las Vegas. I saw your video where you expressed that you were there. You were, and the last place in the world I would want to go is Las Vegas.
Well, I
It
was
really
going to, I was going, you know, John invited me because his daughter moved out there. So I went along
Yeah.
with him, but it's made me appreciate Bakewell and nature so much. It really made me appreciate. So for that, I am truly grateful.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
See you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye, love. Bye bye.
Bye bye.